It's been a fabulous addition to what is an already impressive lineup in the 2025 Shannon Speed Series. We're talking about Ferrari Challenge Australasia. Greg Rust in commentary now, joined by Renato Liberto, who knows the class, the brand incredibly well. The cars made their debut at Mount Panorama in February as a part of the Bathurst 12-hour. This is round 2 of their championship, and coming in, Antoine Gattani heads the field after some success at the Mountain. 33 points out of a possible 34 there going into the second event of the season. Welcome.
Thanks, Rusty. It's a fantastic grid of cars we've got here this weekend, including our 488 and 296 challenge variations. So 3 classes of racing on track, as you mentioned before, signified by the windscreen banners we have there. But Gattani off pole was the man to sort of beat in qualifying. Amazing lap there, 28.44, which is really flying around this circuit. So he thinks there's more in it, though. That's the interesting thing. He said, I could have gone quicker. So we'll see how he goes in race 1 here.
Now, cars will roll around to their grid positions at the island, and one that is likely to be missing, we understand from pit lane, due to start out at position 11, the expat Aussie, now based on the South Island of New Zealand, David Dicker, who was driving car 49, and I think he feels that a little bit sore in his back after qualifying this morning and has decided not to take part.
That's right. We've got our own physio and masseuse here on site that's spent some time with him, had a look, but he's made the decision to sit out. He thinks if he runs again now, it might aggravate things and just make it impossible for him tomorrow. So let's hope everything goes well and we see him on grid tomorrow morning for qualifying too.
Very passionate supporter of those on the motorsport pathway, we should make the point too. He's through his Road and Cars program and what they do internationally with some single-seater ventures, he's supporting the likes of Louis Sharp and others as they endeavour, hopefully, to make it to Formula one day. But he's a proper Ferrari collector, and it was nice to see him here at Phillip Island. Shame he won't take part in the racing, and we wish him a speedy recovery there. No doubt he'll be a frustrated spectator more than anything else. So the front rowers, Ren said there before, Gattani with an amazing lap in qualifying, but there could have been, as we take a look at some of the highlights of that qualifying session, a bit of strategy that may have crept in by the driver who will line up beside him on the front row. So here's a snapshot of the half-hour session for you. We went green under clear skies, a little bit chilly, a little bit of wind around, which may have affected the performance of the cars in certain areas, just in terms of what the drivers would anticipate from these magic 296s and how they behaved perhaps the day prior.
And that's a big point, Rusty. The big talk from most of the quicker guys was how slippery the track felt this morning. I think that little bit of rain overnight, the fact that obviously they're on track a lot earlier than they were yesterday, did catch a few of them off guard, which is why they do think there is more time to be shaved out of those amazing laps leaders this morning.
So here's the 23 of Cameron Campbell, who we were talking about before. Now, he decided ultimately to park the car with 10 minutes remaining. I think he didn't feel like, and certainly at that stage of the session, like he could extract that much more. And the risk in doing that is that it would eat into the goodness of the tyres, which may play to his advantage in these races.
Exactly. I mean, what Antoine showed at Bathurst was he wanted to make it a sprint race. He wanted to bolt ahead and get a gap. A safety car did come into play up there, and he lost that advantage. So if similar happens here, or Cameron's able to hold on to him, he does have tyres that are 4 laps newer. And that may mean the difference between being able to make a move stick at, say, turn 4, turn 9, on that last lap of the race. So hopefully we've got a real race on our hands here.
So the 22 grab pole for Antoine Gattani. Good job. Here's a recap for you of the results. Now, when you see the initials CS pop up on the right-hand side of your graphic there, that stands for copper shell, which is a class within the overall category, fundamentally dedicated rather to amateur racers. So this is a very hard-fought class, and pretty impressive that Enzo was able to qualify that car along with Masahiro Taguchi, both of those copper shell drivers, on the second row of the grid. Really impressive.
Absolutely. I mean, for both of them to sort of be that fast straight away in quali 1 is fantastic. And what it does mean is the guys like Chip Olacino, experienced racer in P6, he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to try and get himself further up that points order.
Quick look at the field of play, if you will, today. This circuit really does offer everything, right by the edge of the ocean. Nothing like it around the world, and they come down that Wayne Gardner main straight into turn 1, brake from about 280 k's an hour back to 220, so they still hold 220 k's an hour through turn number 1. And when they get to turn 3, Stoner Corner, they're back up to around 260 k's an hour. These cars, the lap times they've been able to achieve for Some races that aren't, you know, necessarily full pros, shall we say, have been mighty so far this week.
Absolutely. I mean, we're really proud and happy with how these guys are going. The pace they're getting out of the cars is fantastic. And I mean, you know, the racing is something, yes, they haven't done a lot of that, but the racecraft is the next phase of what we're now working on. You know, we've got the lap time out of them for qualifying. Now we're talking about strategy, how they're going to structure their next 30 minutes on track to make sure they've got the best opportunity to stand on a podium at the end of the race.
And it comes with the complete package. You can see the lights are out. I think they're about to go on our official safety car for Ferrari Challenge. 296s, Magic V6 turbos, around 700 horsepower, a couple of 488s in the field as well. We're set for a race start here. Round 2 of the season. Half an hour of competition to come your way. Can Cam Campbell use those slightly fresher tyres to his advantage in the early part of this? Slightly better maybe in terms of the available rubber left on them, on those Pirellis.
There should be that little bit of a gap in the back end there with David Dicker being out. They can't fill that position. Tony Jenkins, race director, was very clear about that. So we need to watch towards the rear of grid that spot is left available. 80 k's an hour straight over there, and they're just waiting for the lights to disappear. And we'll see what's about to happen here. It's exciting.
Really looking forward to this. The Prancing Horse, a part of the Speed Series at 25, and they're unleashed. They're underway here. Race 1 of the weekend.
Great jump by Enzo on there. Enzo as well, just covering the inside line. I think he's just going to sit back and watch how these two at the front play out for the first half a lap. We see he's got the pace there, but it's what he tries to do in terms of the overall race.
Oh, Masahiro Taguchi under siege here with Jim Pollicina. Pollicina, I think, had the nose fractionally in front, and Masahiro's car got a little loose off the exit of 1, trying to hold on to the position. They've made contact, and that's unfortunately no good for Pollicina.
No, that was going to be shaping up to be a really good race in terms of their pace they had during quali as well. So we'll see what the stewards and our driving standards observer Tim Brooks say about that. But it's a shame, but I think Jim's got a lot more work to do now to try and keep up with the field.
Need to have another little look at that. Here we go, replay on cue. Now, Masahiro tries to fire back up the inside, I think fearing that he'd lost the place from Pollicina. Maybe not quite there, given how close they were, and the nose of Pollicina's car fractionally in front. Be interesting to see what other angles they look at in race control and perhaps how they adjudicate that one.
And one of the rulings, Rusty, is we talk about the driver's mirror. The visibility in a GT car is hard, particularly left-hand drive on a corner like that. We do look at front bar of the car overtaking to be up to the mirror. So that's probably the key thing they're going to look at on that replay, is how close they are to the mirror of the car. It's one of those, you know, it's a small incident. Luckily, Jim was able to keep going, and Masahiro's car also doesn't look like it's sustained too much damage. So hopefully both cars will get to the end here without any issues.
One of the 488s in the field creeping into the game here, currently in 7th place. So one of the older generation cars, a little moment to pause and look at the history, the relatively recent history, if you will, the newer specification 296, which has gone through so much change relative to its predecessor. Aerodynamically, it's more efficient. Very different engine to what the 488 had, but so many people, those purists and lovers of Ferrari, have a soft spot still for the 488, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, any Ferrari with a V8, it's got to be one of the favourites. It does sound absolutely fantastic out there as well, having a couple of the older V8 engines in the mix, but still a very, very fast car. And as we're seeing drivers here still extracting competitive times out of the older car.
The newer car, the V6, it's got quite a wide V configuration, doesn't it? So twin turbo, around, as we said before, around about 700 horsepower, and in the order of an improvement of 70% in terms of the aerodynamic performance or efficiency on its predecessor.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that I'm amazed with the road cars we get to play with as well, is how they can change that packaging. You mentioned a very wide V, a hot V in the engine, so it allows them to get the engine very, very low in the car, obviously improving that center of gravity and improving the performance of the vehicle. But the aero package is also derived from that. The way they can package the powertrain helps them then use the air differently over the car to maximize that downforce and performance.
And I know that there is, you know, plans in the pipeline from a GT3 perspective for hybrid and so on, but for these cars, that system is removed and they become a little bit lighter in the process.
Exactly right, yeah. They've got no intention at this stage to run that hybrid system in the race cars. cars. It means it does simplify things a little bit from running the car point of view, the technical point of view of it. But as we've just discussed, like 700 horsepower in any race car is fantastic. And when you've got one with a dual clutch gearbox, an amazing aero, it's an amazing piece of machinery.
So Jim Pollicina has recovered to position 9, so he's trying to gradually claw his way back. He'd be frustrated. We're looking at the man he was tied up with in that altercation in the 105. That's Masahiro Taguchi, and Taguchi holds down that 4th place at the moment. So Katani leads by 3 seconds over Cam Campbell, and this fight continues down at Miller Corner.
I think there's an issue on our timing screen. Car 277 on screen here, Jared Ferrari actually fighting his way through the field here. He's up behind Taguchi in what looks like P5 at the moment, but he is showing at P12 on our screen, so I think there might be a slight issue with his transponder there. As you can see, Jared pushing very hard there with a big power slide coming out of Siberia.
Beautiful place to get the chance to drive one of these cars. They head up and over Lukey Heights, down into MG Corner. There's the number 1. We spoke about Hudders this morning in the qualifying session, and gets to run the number 1 for special reasons, which we'll detail in a second. Back down to Miller Corner.
You can see there's a fair bit going on here. Jared Ferrari's made his way up the inside. That's David Trewone just giving him some space on the inside there, letting it run nice and wide, but a really aggressive and a good move there by Jared Ferrari. The car I mentioned not showing correctly on our timing screens, but he's now would be up into 5th place. Fantastic drive by Jared.
Back to our race leader, and as he comes through Stoner Corner, you could see from our cameras just the gap back to Cam Campbell in 2nd place, who's about to come into shot. There he is in the background. So the margin is 4.7 seconds, and Katani just keeps laying down fastest lap after fastest lap. It's not quite down to quali trim, as you'd appreciate at this stage, but a 1:30.01 last time was still pretty handy.
And again, we need to see how this strategy plays out. If there are any issues, recovery, safety cars, anything like that, Antoine will very quickly lose the advantage, and he's hurt the tyre much more in the process of pulling that gap. So I think Campbell's well placed here at the moment with 4-lap newer tyres on that car. It is a 30-minute race. We've got 12 minutes or so remaining, 18 minutes remaining. There is a chance Campbell can still pull that gap closer to Antoine. Worth
mentioning too the team battle, Ren, because it's, as you know, whilst we're enjoying the ferocity of what's happening on track here, it's equally as intense between these teams, isn't it?
That's right, and because it's a dealer-based series, you know, each driver represents the Ferrari dealership they're a customer of, effectively. So there's a number of teams: Ferrari Sydney, Ferrari Richmond, so Sydney and Melbourne dealerships. West Coast being Ferrari in Perth, Barbagallo Ferrari, but also David Dicker coming from Continental Cars Auckland, and the Ferrari dealership there. Everyone kind of is involved in their own little battles, and I'm sure when they have their annual dealer meetings, it is something that is a talking point.
Pollicina coming back through the field. This is a great drive by Jim Pollicina. That, I think, is for 5th place at the moment. He'll be on the outside of turn 1 and slots into the middle to get the more ideal line. The safer, the better, the more comfortable line for him through turn 1. But he's continuing the march up the field. I don't think he'll get to the likes of Gattani and Campbell, because it's a recovery mission for him, but an impressive drive nonetheless.
Absolutely. I mean, he made sort of light work of there. You can see the power difference between the 296 and the 488 as well on the straight there. We are seeing on the screens that the incident between himself, Jim, and Masahiro is under investigation. But obviously, if there is going to be any kind of penalty applied, he's trying to make the most of it while he still can. So it's a great drive to get back through. He's passed 7 or 8 cars in doing so. Great recovery.
17 minutes remaining. It's very likely that those two that had that moment down at turn 1 not all that long ago will be side by side again very shortly. So we'll hold our breath and wait for that one. Advantage is now nearly 7 seconds, and Gattani has laid down a 29.92 last time by. He is flying.
Yeah, and that's on, you know, a tyre that's done all of quali. So a reminder for the viewers that we run a 2 tyre set strategy where we have qualifying 1 and race 1 are set on their first set of tyres, and then tomorrow we'll start quali 2 fresh on a brand new set that also then rolls into race 2. We are allowed to sort of use tyres between sets with a bit of a penalty system applied, but ultimately these are tyres that have already done 30 minutes of running. They weren't new at the start of this race.
Hearing from Motorsport Australia Race Control that the Taguchi Pollicina incident will be reviewed post-race, and you know, for viewers watching on might be thinking, well, why couldn't we do that sooner? I think in those moments too that you also gather all of the available information to make that decision, and we get the chance to hear from the drivers too.
Exactly right. I mean, they'll both have their say. As they say, it takes two to tango, but we've also got full data and video telemetry on board from a driving standards point of view. Our observer this weekend is Tim Brook, very experienced racer and campaigner, also one of our coaches from within the Ferrari Club Challenge program, so knows the drivers well, knows the vehicle's limitations well, and can obviously, you know, provide his support to that investigation that will take place post-race.
That data, as we see a move here on Taguchi for position, and he's at Pollicina, getting a little loose, gets a little loose at Miller Corner, as you could see there from the drone. I think both the right-hand side tyres were off to the grass, caught it, and they'll play on here. Just to complete your point there, it's data, but also with a category-specific on board as well, so they can use all of that information collectively when it comes to reviewing incidents of that nature. So,
absolutely right.
Here we go. Jim in the 7, right on the back, I think, now of Taguchi. So
this is playing in the hands of David Tremone in car 127. David had a really good qualifying session, but still felt there was some time he could pull, and he's pulling that time out now. He's making the most of this opportunity where Jim has got to work his way past Massa. He's put a nice healthy gap there, which has got to make Jim work even harder once he gets past Masahiro.
So what happens in the wake of these races from your perspective? I mean, you've got other drivers that are in the pit lane acting in a coaching capacity. You have those that have come from Italy to assist from a technical standpoint, an engineering standpoint, if you will. And the great thing for these competitors is the fun, the enjoyment, whatever you might want to call it from a competition point of view is bolstered by the advice and guidance that you can all supply.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, a number of sports, even professional sports people still have coaches. And the coaches that we've got are guys who are very experienced with us, with our Ferrari programs we do, but also our experienced racers, Josh Buck and Ben Porter. We've got Sam Brabham here as well supporting. So we've got a great team of very experienced racers that can talk about not only how to get a lap time out of the car, but exactly what we're seeing now, the racecraft, how to make the position stick, how to strategize a race, because a lot of these guys haven't done long races. They've done sprint races and super sprints. So to be able to sort of tap into that knowledge, have someone in their ear giving them some guidance is really a big part of this as well.
I'm terrible at golf, but if you had a pro in your corner, that's how you learn. That's how you improve. And the people you've just rattled off there, from Buchan, who was a 2-time and back-to-back TCR Australia champion, and then even Sam Brabham, who you mentioned a moment ago, grandson of the late, great Sir Jack Brabham. So real cachet in some of those people that are in that role. And here's one of them now. Let's go to the lane. Here's Tom Randall.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. I'm just down here now with the 2-time TCR Australia champion, Josh Buchan, who's doing double duties this weekend. He's not only driving in the GD4 class, you're also driver coaching for Cam Campbell. And off air, you said that you've been involved in the Ferrari Challenge for a number of years, since its inception in 2022. And you actually helped driver coach Antoine to the championship in 2022. Now, you're helping Cam Campbell. What's the differences you've seen between the drivers, and how do you sort of coach him through a weekend like this?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting question. They are two completely different drivers. I like to think I taught Antoine everything he knows, so I'm going to claim whatever result he gets as well.
Of course.
Naturally. But they're very different drivers. You know, Antoine is quite technical and understood detail of you know, slow speed corners and whatnot, whereas Cameron is, yeah, he tightens the belts. He has a big crack in the fast stuff. So it's about harnessing that sort of energy that he takes from the fast stuff and reminding him that, you know, you still have to get through some of the slower corners, which, you know, are obviously just as important. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility for yourself, and trying to tame one of these Ferrari 296s, not only around here, but for Cam Campbell, it's his first time, as you said earlier, off-air racing in Australia. So how's it been for him adapting to these Australian circuits?
Well, man, these cars are so fast. I mean, you know, and the guys at the front, Antoine and Cam, are doing such a good job that, you know, they're incredibly intimidating when you're at somewhere like this that's so high speed. You know, you're doing, in these cars, 260 at turn 4, which is just a ridiculous number. So, you know, the cars are super dynamic and amazing to drive, and it is a challenge to get your head around them at somewhere quick like this. And for Cameron, learning all the circuits in Australia, another, you know, aspect to that as well. So he's doing a great job so far to be up front where he is.
Well, I guess the pressure's on you then, trying to help him get a championship that you helped with Antoine a few years ago. Like you said, you taught him everything he knows. So, look, all the best for the rest of the weekend. He did say after qualifying that he thought there was more in it, maybe a 28. Do you think maybe he can find that tomorrow?
Drivers, there's always more in it. It doesn't matter what time you do, there's always more in it.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh.
And he'll get to pull on the helmet a little bit later today too for Monochrome Australia GT4. This is for position. Pollicina finally gets it done. We couldn't have timed the conclusion of that interview any better. He gets by Taguchi, and that is for 5th place. So he's back to where it all started. Car looks a little bit loose through that part of the track. Now that might be an indication of what you spoke about in qualifying today, because Jim kept circulating, and the asset that he has in his armoury is that he's a regular racer, has competed in all sorts of different categories, even driven in supercars at in the third tier, if you will, of their structure. But now we're just starting to see that car slide around a little bit. So he used a bit of the tyre in qualifying. He's had to fight back after that incident all the way through to 5th spot now. Maybe that is beginning to take its toll.
Absolutely, and I think if you can reel David in, I mean, the strategy would be to sort of reel him in, keep some pressure on, but just let the front tyre recover. Let it recover and try and give yourself some time. He's still got 12 minutes left, and we're talking 6 laps here around this circuit, where he's got an opportunity to kind of size up David's position, size up David's pace, and then have a go. But they're both operating in the low 132s at the moment. So, but Jim has been held up behind Massa for a couple of laps there. So we'll just wait and see how it plays out in the next couple of. Here we've got Jared Ferrari and Micho Stefan here, both in the 488 in that Trofeo Pirelli class. They've been having a great battle as well. Watching those two sort of swapping times at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out as well if they start to close in on the Taguchi car.
They're fighting over 7th place right now. Now, up in front, Gattani has a 13.9 second lead. And the reason I'm drawing your attention to that is because Campbell is starting to put together some personal bests in various sectors. In fact, he's been the fastest we've seen during this race in Sector 3. So for Gattani, who's just a fraction over 14 seconds, it becomes a game of managing that, managing the gap, looking after the tyres with what remains of the race, 11.5 minutes. On the flip side, Campbell, if he's going to have a go at this, has got to turn it on and use that to his advantage now.
Absolutely right, and he's going to have to close the gap with only sort of 11 minutes remaining. He does have to try and somehow close the gap,
yeah.
Exactly, and keep some pressure on him to try and force the hand. We actually saw Antoine do that at Bathurst. He managed to close in on our Austrian driver Ernst Kirkmeyer and forced Kirkmeyer into an incident. So it made the race sort of roll in Antoine's favour, but he's running out of time rapidly at the moment.
Back we go to the fight for 7th. And they're in 2 different classes as well.
These are both 488.
Sorry.
There's an issue on timing.
The timing, yes, sorry, big
with 277. But they're both these guys pushing very hard. Jared was one of the guys who I mentioned in qualifying. He was the quickest of all of our cars in the middle sector at Bathurst. So no shortage of brave pills there for Jared in 277. But again, this is about these two working it out between them in terms of the very, very similar pace with these cars, but just working out the strategy. And again, seeing Jared run very wide there. He was pushing hard before. When that interview with Josh was on, you could see him working the front tyre very, very hard to try and close in.
You'll note that there are strips across the top of the windshield, and they are colour-coded. So the red sticker across the top of the windshield is for Trofeo Pirelli, I should say. And often they're our outright contenders. Copper shell, yellow, and for those running in the 488 class, they're blue. So a little way that you can identify watching on from home.
That's a great point you make, Rusty. So what we're watching here with Pollicina closing in on Truone, they're in a different class. So right now, if Pollicina gets Truone, it's only going to still keep him in P3 for his classification. Likewise, it won't change David's classification. So again, playing some strategy here, you might just let him through. If he really wants to get through, let him through. It's not going to change your outcome. It's not going to change your championship points. You want to play the long game here for the rest of the season. We're only round 2. And they don't want to get too tied up in the fact that in multi-class racing, your own points are what matter in your own championship.
Yeah. And we're only at round 2, obviously. But worth noting that the system, if you will, that Ferrari has globally for helping those that want to come and do a track day and learn about driving a performance car in an environment like Phillip Island, and then if they get the bug and they want to go racing, there is that that way of starting that process through things like this, and even before you get to Ferrari Challenge.
Exactly, yeah, and they refer to that program as Ferrari Club Challenge, and it's the first race car step, if you like, out of their Corso Pilota, their road car driver training program. So as Tom and Josh alluded to there, for the last 4 years we've been running that Club Challenge program nationally, everything up to 15, 16 cars at some events all over, at all of these national circuits that we'll go to as part of Ferrari Challenge. So teaching the guys the circuit, but it's not just about...
Oh, and it
Tony
got loose. It got loose deep under brakes and was not able to pull it up, Belden. You could see it on the run down into Miller Corner. Stuck the nose in there and thought, I'll have a crack at this, but just couldn't seem to arrest the speed. 8 minutes remaining, 2 cars off down at turn 4. Will we see the emergence of a safety car in the field getting bunched up here? You talk us through this.
And that's Belden on the right, so the dirty side of the track there, and I think he's probably just tried very, very late, but you can see alongside the other car there into Frisch. I think with ABS, it's probably just got the car into the dirty side of the track and just maybe missed his braking point on the way in.
It's hard to tell from that external shot there, but I almost think he had his hands on his helmet even before the car had come to a stop, like, what have I done? Perhaps that's what it looked. Look at the damage to the left front of the car there. So we have safety car on circuit, and we'll get this neutralised. The field will bunch up. This is a bit of a free kick to Campbell if we get a restart with seven minutes to go, basically.
And this is the strategy we spoke about before. He's going to have newer tyres on the car. He's going to be ready to pounce if we do get the time there. I mean, I know Jenko's going to be working as best he can from race control to try and get this cleared up, but there is a lot of damage here and there might be some debris that needs to be cleared up in the process. So let's see how this amazing recovery team can work their magic before the end of the race.
Ordinarily, in the Speed Series, it would be a different brand of safety car, but this class has its very own, and it is a 296 as well, isn't it?
Oh, so, I mean, it's got to be. Right?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, has a look at the damage. He was the innocent party in that, and you could just see as Belden fired the car in there. I think it was just a last-minute decision, wasn't it? The gap was there. Thought he might go for it, but just not able to pull that car up by the time he got to the Miller Corner there.
That's a Richard Mille safety car there with their driver Paul Green on board. Didn't expect to see that on track this weekend, let's say, but it's lovely to see it on track nonetheless.
Amazing timepieces as well, beautiful. So we'll go to work here. The clock continues to count down, so who knows whether we'll get maybe even a one-lap dash at the end of this one. So there's the recovery vehicle already in play, and we do have the opportunity of just venturing off to the left there, straight back into turn 4, so we might be able to turn this around relatively quickly. Don't forget, big afternoon coming your way here with GT4, Monochrome Australia, GT4, and the big guns, GT3 as well. And we get to do it all again tomorrow. And wherever you're watching around the world, whether it's via our live YouTube coverage or indeed on the screens of 7 in Australia, we hope you're enjoying it. Phillip Island, magic place for racing, and we've opened the Speed Series 2025 account with a lot of action already, but there's the good news is there's still some more to come your way. So from the coaching point of view, when we get into this sort of scenario, all the pressure comes out of the tyres, all the intensity comes out of it for the drivers. What are the words, the words of wisdom that you fire at them so that they stay sharp when we eventually go racing again?
It's probably a very good point, is things like maintaining brake temperature and tyre temperature and kind of phasing that tyre back in so that its readiness is there when the race starts. At the moment, they'll be looking to the screens to sort of, I guess, understand what the recovery period looks like and how long that may take to sort of give them time to do that. You certainly don't want to keep swerving the entire time because you'll actually, fatigue the tyre in doing so. So holding back a little bit and trying to time that right for that lap, but also just trying to get their headspace right for that. What's needed? How long are we going to have? 1 or 2 laps remaining? Where's our opportunities to overtake? Where's our opportunities to kind of overtake and make a gap as well, potentially? But also, when the whole field closes up, it also gives everybody an opportunity to make a pass as well that wasn't potentially part of it before.
Looks like they're clearing that relatively quickly, so let's take this opportunity. Back to Tom Randall.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. I'm down here with Stephen White, who's the driver coach for Belden. And firstly, he's okay. Has he reported anything on the radio or something that might have happened as to what led to that incident?
Yeah, Tony's all fine. We're talking on the radio just prior to the incident taking place, and we were just trying to look for some positives and negatives in the car in front in terms of where we could take advantage for a pass. And it looks like Tony's just gone a little bit deep into turn 4 and obviously collected the car in front, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, okay, yeah, look, all the best. Hopefully you can get the car repaired for tomorrow and we can see him back out there.
Yeah, we hope so. We'll work on it. Thanks.
Cheers, thanks.
Good racer in his own right today too. So let's have a look at this on in terms of a collection of highlights from the race so far. So Gattani gets the jump and makes the most of it, and had basically built himself a 14-second lead until this safety car. This is the one that's going to get reviewed post-race. So Taguchi comes together with Pollicina. I think through turn 1, Masahiro had lost a bit of ground and was endeavouring to try and protect losing another spot. So that'll be looked into. That meant that Pollicina had to march from almost the back of the field, and he's worked his way up into 4th place. Good recovery.
Yeah, that's been the drive of the race for me so far, actually, Jim. He's had to work through all these other little battles we're seeing between the different classes and really keep his nose clean on the way through there and keep a tyre under the car. So to see him sort of up into P4, what it does do is it does give him another chance now to bite at Enzo Cheng on this last run of the flag.
He kept the progress going and eventually got by Taguchi. This is the one that triggered the safety car. So Baildon went down the inside, probably some encouragement, trying to grab a position, but just perhaps maybe beyond the ideal limitations, if you will. And there are some great things that we have in this control category to help the competitors, and certainly from the cost perspective, the great Brembo brake package that you have. I think they've talked about a set of rear rotors, for example, lasting almost a season, don't they? So
exactly right, and it is a in the 296 it's a fly-by-wire brake system.
Yeah.
So quite a new and Formula One derived technology in that car, but still carbon ceramic in both of the 488 and 296 variants.
The little addition to that story is that I think as the pads wear down, that brake-by-wire system still gives these drivers confidence,
yes,
despite the change in available pad material and what would ordinarily be a change in behaviour of the brakes.
Exactly, and something you probably hear a lot when they're talking about supercars and the sort of tips on racing is knockoff. You don't get that. Fly-by-wire kind of, I guess, masks that. So exactly as you said, you always have confidence in a brake pedal feeling the same way all the time. Hearing
from Motorsport Australia Race Control that they will endeavour to give us a one-lap flyer, a one-lap dash. Gattani v Campbell. We'll wait till we get absolute confirmation of that, but that is what they're suggesting at the moment. So let's keep an eye on that Richard Mille safety car there, the 296, and if those lights go out soon, clock says a minute remaining. In theory, what race control are telling us will be how it plays out. So this could be fascinating. Does Campbell, what does the team tell Campbell in this situation here?
And exactly as we were talking about, you can see Campbell working his front tyre, but guess who's not? Antoine Gattani. He sat there for a few laps extra in qualifying. He's probably trying as much as he can
to limit the damage.
Just to limit the damage and save his front tyre, because he's going to need all of it for this last lap.
Fascinating. I love this. So keep in mind too, Copper Shell currently being led for our AM competitors as well by Cheng in 3rd place. So 3rd outright in the 117. Very impressive performance.
And there's a few little battle packs here. We've seen before, we've got Truern and Pollicina and Cheng all capable of running at the same sort of lap times here now, all bunched together. There's no margin. Also in the 488 category, Ferrari, Jared Ferrari that is, and Micho Stefan, they're right on each other's rear bars now. So this is all going to play. There's going to be 3 or 4 little battle packs. I'd hate to be a cameraman on this on this last lap. There's going to be a lot going on.
Lights are out on the safety car. We're about to get this one back underway. Watch for Pollicina too. That's worth keeping an eye on. Can he get back to 3rd outright, given all the drama through turn 1 on the opening lap? What a recovery that would be. Gattani will control it. Campbell has been weaving that car, maybe just making Gattani think about the fact that he's in better shape. That's a little psychological message being sent. Gattani will have noticed that in the rearview mirror. This should be thrilling. There you go. Richard Mille safety car peels off. 1-lap dash, we're being told. First one of the weekend. Ferrari Challenge Australasia. Campbell sticking right up under that rear wing of Gattani as we get set to go. Gattani's waiting here, doing the right thing, making sure he observes all the regulations. Now they're unleashed. Cheng's made a very good start here, and the Copper Shell driver may challenge for second here. Gattani's bolted. That's hurt Campbell. He needed to be closer than that on the run to one.
And that feeds him straight into the pressure of Cheng here. So that's a great start by Antoine, both in that he got the jump, but it's also put pressure from behind on Cameron Campbell.
Great gamesmanship, and he's made it work. Look at Pollicina all over the back of Cheng. That's for third outright. Would be a tremendous comeback if he can get there. Might have a little look. Not quite. Cheng goes deeper, I think, down at turn 4. Pollicina has a look. The nose of the 7 in a different spot, different angle of attack on that corner.
You've really only got one opportunity left now as you come over Lukey Heights to try and line someone up for that last run to the checkered flag here. But again, Enzo's drive out of there has been fantastic. Out of turn 4 has been really good. It's probably a sign of Jim hurting that rear tyre a little bit on the hunt back through the field.
Antoine Gattani, what a story it's been so far in 2025. Opened it nearly perfectly at Mount Panorama Bathurst, almost with the full scorecard of points. Came in with a dominant pole position, has been in a situation where he's had to fight for this after the safety car, but he has bolted once again and got nearly a 2-second lead over Campbell. He's going to take out the opening race of the weekend. Antoine Gattani wins it.
Fantastic drive by Antoine. Cameron Campbell as well, really.
Pollicina on the line. We were watching Cam Campbell, and as they cross the line, that'll be a photo finish, but Pollicina has got the nose in front of Cheng to grab third place on the line here.
Amazing. We only just copped a very quick flash of red and blue as it went past the camera. What an amazing finish there by Jim to sort of get him coming out of the last corner and obviously get the power down coming onto the straight. Again, these cars are a huge amount of aerodynamics, which does allow for a good draft. So again, the race experience for Jim has obviously played out there.
If he had the red mist after that opening lap, well, it's worked in his favour. That's tremendous.
The marshal's enjoying that there. There's a bit of a victory dance on the side of the track as well.
We like a bit of that, a bit of a celebration. Rightly so. Gattani, Campbell, Pollicina, they're your top 3 outright, and they're your top 3 in Trofeo Pirelli as well. And then Cheng is the first of our Copper Shell drivers. Taguchi in the end finishes in 6th place. So was under siege there for a little while, and I think the restart may have hurt even more. So drops to 6th in the end.
And we still don't know how that'll play out between Jim Pollicina in P3 and Taguchi in P6 with that altercation.
Yeah, that review, which we'll update you on before we go racing across Sunday here in the Ferrari Challenge. Trofeo Pirelli, Australasia. Best of our 488s. Stefan in 7th, ahead of Jared Ferrari. But the win has gone to Gattani. Makes some very solid laps along the way.
And the bonus point for fastest lap as well.
Yeah, it was a 1 minute 29.92 and the only driver to go sub 1 minute 30. That is impressive.
And looking at the Copper Shell, we do award points for fastest lap per class. So David Trewone on a 1:32.2, he'll get the bonus point ahead of Enzo Cheng there. So he'll buy 1 point back in him in the championship 10. Well done to David there.
Nice. Well, we've got a lot coming your way here this afternoon as a part of our coverage on the screens of 7, and for those of you watching around the world on YouTube. This was the highlights of Ferrari Challenge. First race of the weekend, the pole sitter Gattani got away nicely and set about building a lead of 14 seconds. This is the incident that is under review. Taguchi having a little trouble through 1 and trying to sneak up past the 7 of Jim Pollicina. They came together. That meant Pollicina dropped all the way back through the field and then fought his way ultimately back to 3rd place in this race.